you put in so much effort at the moment, and the results of those efforts usually happen months, 6 months, years later sometimes, and you don't even realize.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, when I started posting those videos, I had no idea that today I'd have like an inbox full of people like telling me like, man, you changed my life. Like, been following
Wow.
your advice. Like, now I've built this app and I'm like generating revenue. I left my job.
Right there, dude. Look at this.
Look at that. Look at that. Look
We
at
got
this
a
guy.
fucking set, man. We've been trying to do this for so long,
Yeah,
bro.
we have, man. It's been a really long time coming. So I'm glad we're finally doing this.
One of the funny things, so like this is the first YouTube collaboration I've ever done.
Nice.
Have you done others?
I have. I mean, I don't know what a YouTube collaboration exactly means, but
I think it's when you get together with another YouTuber and do anything.
This is.
It
I
tends
usually
to be
have
like
guests on my
Oh, do
YouTube
you?
channel from time to time. I mean, I've had guests. I'm kind of changing the format that I do because now it's like, from testing with people with viewers, like I know what they are looking for, and then also some good strategist advice is like not to mix up too many different types of content. So I'm actually considering starting a podcast, but I need to first crush in what I'm currently doing, and I feel like I'm starting from scratch.
So, and what are you currently doing? Just so everyone is aware.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I'm building a company which is called We Are NoCode, where we teach people how to launch companies who don't know how to code. So we teach them how to, build software like websites and apps with no-code tools, which, there are plenty out there. We teach them how to automate systems and make things better for them, and generally just help them just avoid some of the common pitfall mistakes that you've faced as well as me when you're building your first online businesses. And so yeah, we cater to people who are looking to get into entrepreneurship, or also people who have like businesses already, and now they're like, hey, but this is the digital era. We need to upskill. We need to get ready for everything being online.
And we met 3-4 years ago.
Correct.
Through, what was it? Because you were doing like an accelerator or a boot camp or something.
Yeah.
Then.
I think that you applied for the accelerator that I was running at the time. You were at the very idea phase, so you actually didn't get into that.
Yeah.
But hey, look at us now, right?
Look at us now. Look at us now.
and
millionaires.
And then I think you reached out to me because you were working on, at the time, V1.
Yep.
And we've kind of stayed in touch loosely since then, and
we have,
and I've been like exchanging to try to get this together, and you've had your YouTube route since then. So I basically one day 3 years ago decided I would start filming myself, and that turned into...
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a funny story. So were you finished with that? Were you finished with that one? Sorry.
It's all good. Go for it.
That's how I do these, I guess. That's how I do my first YouTube collaboration. So you've been building for the longest time, and I just want to get across this point that was so inspirational to me, which was last fall. I think it was last fall. So it was over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had always followed or engaged on We Are NoCode, and we'll get into the who we are, or who is the we, and We Are NoCode. But you made this post, and I actually made a video on it that was it took you 3 years to get to 2 to 3 years to get to 5,000 subs.
Yeah.
Every day. Do you want to summarize that post from last fall for everyone?
It's so funny because I release stuff and then I don't even remember what it is. And that's like kind of, like you don't realize the influence you're having when you're doing these kind of things. But yeah, I think it was a post about the fact that, I'd basically spent 2 years posting a video weekly on YouTube with very little to no engagement.
Yeah.
And then I show the growth trajectory of my current YouTube, and it's just like a hockey puck, like going up to the right and more exponential. And the moral of the story was kind of like, like this shit takes time.
Yeah.
like don't expect overnight success. And I think that it's like, so many of us like are expecting today, right now, like instant gratification. And that was kind of a testament to the fact that it was worth it. I couldn't see at the time that it was worth it, but I had committed to myself to continue doing it. I was getting some positive feedback, but it literally took just like maybe 100 videos where no one was watching to
Mm.
then kind of break through. And I'm not going to say that that's the right approach for everyone to
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
because you can actually do it the smart way. I've learned that, and now I'm, happy to share my know-hows
yeah,
uh, in doing it the smarter way, because you don't have to have hundreds of videos that don't have views. YouTube's an algorithm, and people have understood how it works, and so I think, yeah, like, people don't have to go through that, but every great thing takes years,
years.
years. And
Like,
people, like building businesses, which I teach to people every day. I've built several myself in the past. You have too. Like, you put in so much effort at the moment, and the results of those efforts usually happen months, 6 months, years later sometimes, and you don't even realize.
yeah,
So, like, yeah, when I started posting those videos, I had no idea that today I'd have like an inbox full of people like telling me like, man, you changed my life, like, been following
wow,
your advice, like, now I've built this app and I'm like generating revenue, I left my job, like, stuff like that, where you're just
yeah.
like, and so, yeah, for me it's been super awesome seeing that. But also, like, I'm not here to minimize like the difficulty and like the pain and the self-doubt that goes into just like
Oh, it's incredible.
producing and like
Yeah, like,
working on something you're so,
I mean, it's funny
excited
because
about.
just today I released a video about like how much money we made at using YouTube as like a marketing channel, and that
Hmm.
was it. And some people, like, there was a comment that you go, I would prefer not to see this video and just see a tutorial. And you're like, all right. You know what I mean? And someone wrote in, shout out, wrote in like, well, that's kind of a jerk comment. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people who do want to see this. You don't, and that person replied, oh, as a Task Magic customer, I don't want to be called a jerk. And it's like, no, 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 no. The comment, there was a place for that comment, maybe, or perhaps, but I mean, you don't have to make that comment. You don't have to watch that video at all.
Yeah.
But even, and I love that that person came to our defense. It means we're building the right community.
Yeah.
I still love the engagement. I'll take the hate.
Yeah.
The one thing I've learned as an early creator is, man, the worst thing you can do is put out something and no one gives a shit. Like, no one, dude, if you hate this video, you care enough to tell me about it.
Yeah. By
So
the way,
you
if you
care,
hate this video, like and subscribe to this channel.
like a true YouTuber with 30,000 followers now, 30,000
Not
subs.
yet, not
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Premature. But
Premature.
yeah,
Where
we're
are
at
you at
like
exactly?
28 point something.
How have you, okay, so going back to that post, right? In like the early days, I think there's something beautiful about that seed or that kernel where you go, I want to do this. I'm committed to doing it. And like I said, we had 3,400 subs when I made that video or whatever, or how we made this money in October. And it was about creating a product and creating a business around YouTube so that you can enjoy the process and you can do these things and you can have a small community and still make a living.
Yeah.
There, that was important, that like that commitment, building differently. Not, why do you need views to make money off of YouTube ads?
Yeah, I think that's the misconception too. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, like, you need to get a bunch of views, and it's like, no, you need to get the views from the right people.
Mhm.
And if you're building a business, which is what I'm doing, and YouTube just happens to be a distribution channel for my business, then you shouldn't lose track and start creating, Mr. Beast videos because, like, you want more views or like subs.
Yeah.
Like, it's great for the ego, but the truth
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
like, it depends what you're in it for. And I think it's funny, like, first of all, what you mentioned, which is so funny, is like, you will get a lot of criticism online creating content in general,
Yeah.
regardless of the type of content. People will just hate you. They'll just be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you'll be a super nice guy, and they'll be like, "Oh, I hate you, Christian." Okay,
Do
fair
you get
enough.
that?
Uh, Absolutely, yeah,
Oh
yeah. There's
yeah.
definitely some people who just like with, and I would rather be the person who takes responsibility and tries to understand where that person's coming from. Sometimes it's not worth your time. It's just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so if it's really just like a trash, but I mean, like, not to be critical, but like, maybe you should have done a tutorial.
Yeah,
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's this amazing, and I think that's a big problem too. Is like, you tie your ego into the stuff that you do, and it's normal. Like, we all do. It's not just like a criticism, but like, then you stop listening to like the comments which actually could help you. If you created a tutorial video about how you did it and break it down step by step, like people would have watched that more probably. Like watched it longer. If you start off a video being like, hey, I made this amount in this amount of time and I'm going to be breaking down the steps that I did to do it, like I'm watching, and this is actually Mr. Beast's, like Mr. Beast is an awesome content creator, right? But his best advice is actually just like make great videos. Like and most people he says like make mediocre videos and then they complain that they're not getting views and they're like the algorithms are against me. It's like, yes, but no. It's simple. If people click through because they liked your thumbnail and they like the title of your video, they have expectations. They want those expectations to be met by the end of the video. And then any second that you keep them longer in that video, it's going to tell YouTube's algorithm like, hey, this is worth you putting in front of more people.
Right.
And then it's going to test it in front of other people. So that's another interesting thing that I've realized. Like, the first viral I'm talking as if I have hundreds of thousands of subs, like I'm still a very small YouTube creator, but
you're at the point though, sorry to interrupt you, you're at the point that I've always told Dave that like you get to 30,000, you start getting like sponsorship offers and like these types of things to like, because you become that influencer depending on what your engagement is.
So, and
have you gotten some of those offers at all yet?
I get every single week sponsorship offers for the channel, and I have taken sponsorship money, and I am now feeling the negative parts of taking that. And so it's not.
What is the downside to taking money?
The downside is that other people want to see the content before it goes out. They don't have a say on what it is.
Like the person who paid you to
exactly.
We want to say.
Yeah. They just want to see the video before it's released. Now you have to sometimes compromise like some of the things that you would do because you need to mold it around something that would be valuable for them, and then it starts affecting a little bit your content. So it's like you have to be smart. And one of the I don't know, but yeah, to answer your question, like every week now I receive like emails from people who will just find my contact on the channel about section and just be like, hey, we're interested in a paid collaboration. So
How much are we talking? Are we talking thousands or like?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you got to listen to those people.
Yeah.
If I give you 5 Gs,
listen,
it's
like, and there are some companies that I'm happy to do it for, like sure. I just did one for Notion, for example. I love Notion, you know. I'm finishing up one for Wix right now, Wix Studio, which actually released a really legit new product.
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, like even though I had written you off before, like no, and I dug into it and I actually did like
wrote off Wix.
Well, I mean, like I think that they were in the first wave of like no code tools that were super amazing to build websites. But then when some other platforms started coming out, like Webflow, Bubble, all these others, like it was like, oh wow, okay, so like Wix is for websites and this is for other stuff. But now I'm realizing like no, like
sure,
there's a lot more than people think. But of course, you get like tagged, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, we've created some great brand deals, and also with smaller tools that I find awesome. So like there's a tool called NC Scale, for example, with no code scale, and what they solve is the fact that like when you have like you're dealing with a bunch of no code tools, things sometimes can break. So it's like if you have, for example, 5 Airtable bases, it'll be able to track all the dependencies and tell you if something breaks. And
what's that called? A buddy of mine was releasing something. I think something similar, like no code ops or something.
Yeah, exactly. So there's another one that's called shout out to
Phil.
To Phil. Yeah.
Oh, Phil, Phil.
Yeah, I know Phil as well.
Shout out to Phil.
Yeah, and he's building something that's relatively similar, which is like a monitoring system around your no code tools, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we did one for them.
So that is similar to what? Fuck, I'm forgetting.
Yeah, Operator.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Operator, I think, is the name of the.
Did he change the name of it?
Company? I don't know, but we're gonna get grilled on this video now because we didn't get the right name. So
yeah, that's sorry.
I think it is that.
Oh, we'd hate to hear the naysaying in the comments, wouldn't we?
They'll be naysaying either way. Yeah. So no, definitely taking some.
Do you discourage hate on the comments?
No,
dude. I want to hear. I need to hear.
Do I discourage?
Thoughts. No, like I need to hear your if you hit you
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay, okay.
learning as a content
Yeah,
creator,
yeah,
you need to get people to feel something. Meaning like, "Oh, I can do this. Yes, I love you, Christian. Thank you so much. You've meant so
yeah,
much." Or like, "I fucking hate this guy. I like you know what I mean?
yeah.
You need to make someone feel you can't be mediocre.
Yeah, I might be a bit vanilla and
Mm,
not like be as hardcore maybe like as I
okay.
could be. Like, I mean, I just am not a polarizing figure. I'm
Mm,
someone who likes the fact that there's it's good to make people feel something, but I'm here to inspire people. And sure, like, people watch news which is like making them feel terrible, and it gets way more clicks and views, right? I'm more like on the opposite side of that. Like, I'm not trying to like sugarcoat stuff, but like I also am trying to create content that like inspires people. When
yep.
it's like, so you don't watch, like, I don't know, you watch the news for too long and you get like depressed and like
Yeah.
bogged down. I want to create content where like after people watching it, they're like inspired or interested or feeling
Right.
creative or feel or
Yeah.
like it sparked something in them.
Yeah.
And that content usually, like, people are less likely to watch than like, content that's going to be like super triggering,
Yeah.
like, so
Switchboard.
yeah, you have
It's Switchboard. Phil's company is
oh yeah,
Switchboard.
switchboard.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
I remembered it.
Yeah.
There you go. Sorry.
So shout out to Phil.
Shout out to Phil.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that it's like,
Phil bought me a hat. By the way, I visited him in Atlanta
yeah,
last year. He bought me
nice.
a hat at his co-work space.
That's amazing.
Thanks. I'll put that up here, Phil. Sorry.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
We appreciate that.
I'm waiting for my hat now, but we appreciate that. No, just kidding.
Yeah, I'll just send Christian a hat.
Yeah, I need to send him a shirt actually
Oh, do
because
you?
we released
You owe him a
t-shirts.
shirt?
So yeah, I'll probably have to
I
send him
don't
a
have a
shirt.
shirt. You got a shirt.
Yeah. Well, I just got a shirt,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I feel like it's a shirt for a shirt,
Yeah, it is. You'll have to send me a
Yeah,
shirt.
an eye for an eye, right? Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Like, I'm like learning a lot as well about like creating content, and I think that right now I'm definitely excited about like AI tools being able to help entrepreneurs. But it's the same thing as like no code tools. It's like people end up like being lost in all these tools, not choosing any of them or playing around with a bunch of them and not actually achieving their goals. And that, my friend, is the biggest problem in
Yes,
entrepreneurship today.
that is the biggest problem in general,
Yeah.
which is like I've learned when you don't make so the difference between because we were talking about like the app builder that we had with V1,
Mm-hmm.
which was good, like it made revenue, it made over $1 million in revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and that was great. It cost a bunch of money to make, right? But it wasn't. I don't think like web builders are a dime a dozen, right? Like different little things, and if you don't get someone to their critical workflow or the critical ecom piece to it and or you don't hold the data, you don't get something that's critical to their business, they will give up on it, especially if they're hobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
So how have you instructed people with like we are no code? Like how I figured like when we went to automations, we've learned that if you get someone to that critical workflow, they are your community member, your customer for life.
Yeah.
So how have you as like an instructor of sorts
Yeah.
gotten people to that moment, or have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, and that's been something interesting because for us, like basically the tools, as you said, there's like a dime a dozen, right? We talk about no code, we talk about automation, we talk about AI. There are just so many tools. You know what doesn't change though? The outcome and the end goals, right?
Mm,
So like, and then the strategies change a little bit slower than the tools will. Um, but for example, you need to build a website. There's 1,000 tools that can do that. What's your goal? To build a website. Great. For what? Probably to either like capture leads or to just have a branding play that people will contact you through this website. Either way, it's usually getting leads, right?
sure.
So it's like the tools will always change. Right now, you can even build full amazing websites with like AI prompts, for example.
Hmm.
But the thing that doesn't change is kind of the outcome and some of the strategies to get there, right? So that's where, for me, one thing that's important is to constantly teach the fundamentals, and then constantly be curating the best tools that are really proven, that have great community support, all these great things to them, so that you can recommend the state of the art that people can build on now,
Yeah.
right? And that will constantly evolve. So for me, my North Star is helping people progress as quickly as possible with the startup ideas or the businesses that they're coming to me with, right? and everything, a lot of things change, but a lot of things don't change that much.
Yeah.
You know?
Have you noticed? I guess I've changed the pattern of which I've approached monetizing a business in general
Mm-hmm.
with seeing some of these trends with no code operators or people who don't like there is a market for people who don't want to invest a shit ton of time, because you shouldn't have to like achieve their desired result and go, I'll pay $9, $14,
Mm-hmm.
$13, $19. There is a level to which you don't, it's not the dark UX of like, they're going to miss this charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, if I see that charge and it's $9 or $14, I'm like, I'll use it. Or like, I see that lifetime one time price, $500. It's like, it's out of sight, out of mind, or I'm going to use it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of services like Zapier, who we're trying to kill, oh, we'll come after you, right? We talked an hour
You're
long
so
about
funny.
this. Like, we will get you. Put in the comments, come in the comments if you're on our side with this Zapier fight.
Yeah.
By the way,
You got bullied by Zapier as a kid, right?
we did. Oh, it was personal. It's
I love
personal.
that.
They spit in our eye, the little guy's eye. I'm coming with my slingshot. But
David
like
and Goliath.
David and Goliath.
Yeah.
But there is a realm for what I call this is like a well-designed, cheap product,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where it's like, or inexpensive product.
Yeah.
Where with so many tools, no one, I mean, everyone hears the adage when you're building a product, like, don't compete on price. No, 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 no. Like, I think there's a realm to truly compete on price for price conscious people.
I mean,
Like,
that's 100% like what a lot of companies' strategies are, right? It's like, and sometimes it's about like reducing the cost so that you can charge a lower price. So if you think of like, for example, Card, which is a no-code tool,
yeah,
it's so cheap. It's like $19 for a
yeah,
year
yeah,
for like,
yeah,
I think, a limited website. It's like
yeah.
insane like
You're right.
that. Whereas like the plan for anything else is a couple $100s a year, and for like 1 or 2 or 3 projects maybe. So it's like, absolutely you can compete on price. I think for me it's funny because like that's nonsense. Like, it's
Mm,
like IKEA definitely competes on price, right?
yeah, sure.
Like some of the biggest companies compete on price. So I think that's maybe like um yeah, it's nonsense. I also think that there's gonna be more and more, people being tired of paying subscriptions
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But the subscription model is something that will never fully disappear. I don't know.
sure.
um so I think, what's interesting about what you're talking about? You're talking from a product perspective, whereas for me, you have to think about the actual person's life, and it usually comes down to the adoption of your tool. Sometimes doesn't have to come down to like the whether it's $9 or $29. It has to do with like how long is it going to take me to learn it. Might be a bigger like
Yeah, yeah,
reason why they choose it or don't choose it.
right.
Like, can I pay someone else to do it for me? I don't know. You realize that like you think you're competing against another guy, but sometimes you're competing, like that's where competition gets interesting. It's like you only really need to compete in markets where there is a little bit of a zero sum game,
Sure.
because I hear this all the time, specifically with like smaller companies. They're like, oh, I found this other startup and they built something similar to what I'm trying to build. And it's like, guess what? No one's heard of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
your ability to reach end customers who are interested and have the problem that you're solving, like, is so much more important than you focusing on the guy beside you and
yeah,
like being like, oh, I'm worried that this guy is going to overtake me. It's like, you can't, there's usually so much market share out there that unless we're talking about like Uber,
yeah.
and even Uber, look at all the global competitors they have and have been buying out and all that kind of stuff. It's like people are so threatened by competition, and for me it's like competition is way less of a risk for you than suicide, internal conflicts, and the entire
Yeah.
like, and like you not managing to like run your own business because you're always looking on the side, always changing things up. And it's like, so it's interesting. That's actually a great quote. I don't know where I got it from, but like most companies die from like, yeah, from suicide, not from like murder.
Yeah, well, I think that's good, and that's a good quote, adage, whatever you want, like analogy. Because I tend to not give a crap about competition
Hmm.
unless they fucking do me wrong. You know, no,
Shout out Zapier, right?
I swear to God. Um, but like I have no problem competing, like,
Hmm.
and it's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's fun to go, I'm going to steal your customers, right? That is, you got it. That's my mission,
Mhm.
partly some
Mhm.
of my mission. And there's not a price they could give me because I'm having fun, right? Like they would go 30 million tomorrow, and I would go, I'm making money now. Like I'm having so much more fun. Like you said, like you got to listen to people who give you money. Like I'm fine with listening to customers, right? I'm not fine with listening to an acquirer or working for someone. I'm not fine with like completely listening and just doing blindly what someone who would, like a sponsor, would just give me money and say, do this. You're going to hire me. You're going to give me $5,000 because why? Because you like the videos that I have created.
Mhm.
You're going to trust. I know there's a little couple things here and there, but like winding it back to like getting your first customers and listening to those first customers. How do you instruct people, and we are no code,
Yeah.
to find their first customers
Yeah.
after they've built a product?
Yeah, so well, that's the thing. Like, you want to find your first customers before you build your product, first of all, because
Mm,
like, I think the problem that happens is that you build a product you have in your head, you spend a bunch of money, a bunch of time if you're doing it yourself, and then sometimes you put it in front of customers, and it's like, oh, I want that like this, not like that.
mm-hmm.
I want this like that, not like this. Oh, this is great, but it doesn't solve my problem. Or like, oh, this is great, but like I don't want to pay for it. So it's like there's so many things that can go wrong with like
Yeah.
build it
Oh,
and
I
they will
like
come.
this, but I'm not giving you any money for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'll use it every day. I'm just not gonna like go onto your price plan. Yeah, and I think that's like the
Yeah.
reality of it. Like what we're trying to do basically is like, okay, try to understand what people say they want, then test if we're able to get people to opt in to something based on like a smoke test. So you can build something really, and you need to build the audience anyway. So you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And then you basically go as close as you can to generating revenue before even building the product. Then from the people who have bought the product, you build exactly what they want, and
Yep.
then you launch it and you have customers and you have a revenue generating business. So for me, it's like first customers, first of all, it's way more important to get feedback than it is to get revenue. Because if you're able to, and narrowing down and understanding you can't cater this product to everyone, even though everyone wants to build the thing. Oh, who could use this? Oh,
Everyone.
it could be for everyone.
Yeah.
That's like the great. So you're building it for no one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Sure.
and I think that's like just simple things like that people like ignore, and then that brings them down a rabbit hole of overbuilding. Then they bring it to the customers. Customer wants something different. Keep adding features, and like that's not the problem. The problem is that